into the month of November. During this In the Know segment, we're breaking down your full November outlook. Perhaps you have an event you're planning for this month, or maybe you're just looking forward to the winter conditions. Here to help break down our forecasting is meteorologist Rhythm Reet. Now, Rhythm, let's first talk about the past, then we'll head into the future of the month. What did we see nationally across the months of September and October, the first part of fall, I would say?
The first part of fall, and I don't know about you, Victoria, I definitely felt like it was warm, but when we take a look at our graphic and the anomaly, temperatures widespread across Canada were above seasonal, with the exception of the BC coastline as well as Yukon, and additionally for the southern portions of Nova Scotia. We saw a lot of that heat really roaming up towards northern Canada, but even across areas of the prairies.
Let's get into November now. What are we projecting for perhaps maybe the first half of the month?
Well, for the folks that really liked our September and October conditions where we had those above seasonal temperatures, that's what we are projecting. For majority of the country, above seasonal conditions except for areas across BC as well as Newfoundland. But we need to remember that through this month, those temperatures do drop. So for the early half of the month, we may have temperatures right around that 10 degrees in Toronto, let's say 7 in Calgary. So we are projecting above seasonal or above those temperatures for the first half of fall. But as we head towards the second half, that's when we start to see a little bit more of those drops, right? So when we take a look at this graphic, what we do see is around 3 degrees as a high in Toronto, 0 in Calgary, and we really see that projection or those temperatures drop throughout the month. So that is something to be mindful of when we are talking about those above seasonal temperatures, even for the first half of the month.
Not just temperatures though, Rhythm, we got to talk about precipitation, rain, snow. What could we expect? Maybe let's talk about the past and then we'll head into the future again. What did we see precipitation-wise?
Well, for the first half of fall, when we are talking about the precipitation, eastern Canada really saw a deficit in a lot of that rain, especially as we take a look down towards southern Ontario, southern Quebec, and even towards the eastern prairies. One region that saw a exceptional amount of moisture was across the BC coastline. We talked so many times about those atmospheric rivers. And what's so interesting is this graphic. We've been talking a lot about it possibly being the wettest year on record for Toronto, but be mindful, a lot of this rain was what we experienced through the summer, whereas September and October were significantly dry for us.
Let's now talk about November, the motion picture. What kind of precipitation are we expecting for November? Are we going to see snow sooner than later?
Well, that's a little bit dependent on those temperatures, but when we are talking about precipitation, whether it's rain, whether it's snow, two main areas to watch for those storm tracks is one is going to be through southern Ontario, with Colorado lows and Texas lows looking to rampen up, and then additionally across the BC coastline. So when we take a look over the next 10 days, the first half of November, we really see those above normal amount of precipitation setting up for eastern Ontario, even into areas northwestern Ontario, whereas the BC coastline also seeing that significantly higher amount of moisture. But in terms of precipitation for Atlantic Canada, we may just see a little bit of a drier pattern, whereas we did see more of those wetter patterns earlier in the summer.
All right, lots of information to digest. All in all, let's talk as a whole in Canada. What should we expect for November?
Well, for the second half of November, well, we might just start to see a little bit more of those wintry patterns return. What we can be looking at is the possibility of the ridging in the west and cooler temperatures in the east. So as we head towards late November, more of that wintry activity can be setting up across eastern Canada, whereas above seasonal temperatures set up across the western portions of Canada.